So in year one, I work with the students on text. And the foundation of that class is one question: why this now? So we work to kind of like a detective to figure out what is the aim of the playwright and how do we best be in service to that aim of the playwright. I consider the text and the actions that the playwright writes not to be a suggestion, but an actual mandate. So how are we orienting ourselves and taking on that responsibility to make sure we are honoring that particular mandate, why this playwright has offered this story. Some of the playwrights that we've worked on in the past is August Wilson. We've worked Amy Herzog. So we do a cross-section of lots of different contemporary playwrights. Susan Laurie Parks, Samuel Beckett. So a lot of different styles, some who lend themselves to a more poetic use of language, and some who are much more analytical, some who are much more soulful and musically inclined. So I try to give a nice introduction to varying playwrights of different scopes. I think one thing that really surprises students as they work through this text class is how much is actually in the text. I think a lot of students believe that they have to put so much on and make it more than what's on the page. And once we resign ourselves to the offering of the playwright and that the world is there, and yes, it does require our imagination, but if we meet the playwright where they're trying to take us, the play has already done so much of the work for us, and it's about us just asking the right questions. I have a philosophy in that acting is really about problem solving. In order to problem solve, you got to know what questions to ask. And the best questions invite 2 or 3 other really great questions. So at the end of the day, you're left with many more questions than answers. And to me, that keeps you curious, it keeps you front-footed, and it keeps you knowledgeable at the same time. So in the fall of your second year, I teach scene study, and this is more of a continuation of the work you've learned about yourself in the first year. If you think of the first year as a practical but also a diagnostic year for yourself as an actor, this gives you an opportunity to take what you have learned about yourself, your habits, your proclivities, and to see how you can expand that. So in my scene study class, I start off with early realism. So we typically work on Ibsen, which I absolutely love. I think Ibsen is a master of the conundrum. You're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, but you got to do. And so I think the value in that is we get to see ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances. So Ibsen, Chekhov, all coming from that Stanislavski trajectory, it very much still is rooted at the foundation of the American theater. And so I find a lot of useful practice in working on Ibsen in the beginning. And then we branch out to some more, I guess, mid-century, mid-20th century material, and finally come up just up to the present. So we do a tour over about 100 years of material, typically in my class. But it's all rooted in real people in extraordinary circumstances, and also how to expand your palette, your tastes. So I get a lot of information from your work in your first year, and to see how I can partner with you to again just develop a much more knowledgeable sense of self, and how you can put yourself in differing situations that you maybe previously hadn't explored or weren't comfortable with before. As a director, I really make a conscious effort to try and give you as close of a rendition to a professional experience. There is some teaching that will naturally happen along the way, but I think it is quite crucial that when you're having these full production experiences, that you are able to get a taste of what it is like in the professional world. Since I do direct professionally, I hold students to the exact same standards I would professional actors, and just try to create an environment that treats you as a co-collaborator. And it just my function as a director, yours as an actor, but in that sense that we are on equal footing in trying to tell the story. Since I am still a working professional as an actor and a director, I do realize that it's if I want to continue to work with the next generation of talented, serious-minded artists, then I have a responsibility to make sure that I'm showing up for that next generation, and teaching here at NYU Grad Acting has afforded me that opportunity. Not that I'm doing anybody, any great service of pure altruism. I learned so much from our students, from this next generation of artists and their taste, and how they're experiencing the world in a way that I never did, right? Particularly with the advancements of technology and how that informs our understanding of how the world works and how we communicate with each other. But I think there are fundamental practices of storytelling that have been passed down to me, and I've been so fortunate to be in some amazing rooms, whether it be on Broadway, film and television, regional theater. And so I've been able to amass a lot of useful information that I'm so thrilled to just be able to share and pass down. And hopefully, like I say, work with our students even beyond the fifth floor. My colleagues work selflessly at really upholding those core values and tenets to make sure that everyone's voice is in the mix, is not just heard, but is respected and valued. And I think we all have a unique understanding that that's the only way we're going to move forward as a society. And knowing that the different points of view are not just valid and welcome and necessary, but also making sure that we pay particular attention that there's a clarity in delivering those different points of view, and that there's an effectiveness in using those different points of view to tell a cohesive story. And so the training that happens on the fifth floor, I think, is all in service to that. How do we create the largest tapestry possible in telling stories that are gonna offer value to our society?